2025 is almost over, and Satisfactory 1.1 has been the biggest update of the year. But the question is it finally the update that makes building massive factories actually fun? So the big thing about Update 1.1 is that it's not just a small tweak or bug fix, it's a full-on quality of life buffet. You know how the game always felt like it was built by engineers who hated stairs? Well, not anymore. Verticality is finally real. The new personnel elevator lets you go up and down multi-level bases without feeling like you're trapped in a parkour challenge. It's clean, it's smooth, and it makes massive bases way more manageable. For the first time, stacking factories on top of each other actually looks neat instead of like a mechanical crime scene. And then there's the new building system magic, auto-connecting blueprints. If you've ever spent 20 minutes lining up conveyors and pipes that still somehow didn't snap correctly, this is your redemption arc. Blueprints now link themselves automatically, meaning you can finally mass-produce factory sections like a true industrial maniac instead of a belt babysitter. It's one of those things that sounds small on paper but saves hours in practice. The QOL upgrades don't stop there. Conveyor and pipe tools got a much-needed glow-up. The new throughput monitors show you exactly where your production is clogging up. So when something stops moving, you don't have to run around guessing which belt is having a midlife crisis. It's faster, cleaner, and honestly, it just makes sense. Now, let's talk about something unexpected: controller support. Yeah, you read that right. Satisfactory now plays surprisingly well with a controller, and it even runs decently on the Steam Deck. You can actually sit on your couch, kick back, and expand your empire without your keyboard screaming for mercy. It's not perfect, the text can feel a little small, and some menus still make your thumbs do gymnastics, but overall, it's a solid step forward. For a game that was once practically allergic to controllers, this feels like a proper evolution. Another small but appreciated touch is the photo mode overhaul. You can now pose, add filters, and snap your factories in cinematic glory. It's mostly for the creative crowd who wants to flex their builds, but even if you're not that type, it's a fun distraction. If you've ever spent hours designing a symmetrical factory and wanted to show off your masterpiece, this is your moment. All that said, 1.1 didn't roll out perfectly. It wouldn't be satisfactory without a few growing pains, right? The experimental branch was a bit rocky. Players ran into crashes, blueprint bugs, and a few "why's my conveyor on vacation" moments. Even in the live version, some of those gremlins lingered for a while. The devs have been on it with hotfixes, but it's fair to say this update launched with more duct tape than expected. So, if you're planning to dive back in, backing up your saves is still a very good idea. There's also the issue of mod compatibility. The update broke quite a few mods when it first dropped, leaving some players stuck waiting for updates before they could return to their modded factories. If you're a heavy mod user, you might want to double-check your setup before loading your 800-hour masterpiece. Nothing hurts more than seeing your perfectly tuned modded build implode because of an update. Performance-wise, things are mostly fine. Large factories still test your PC's patience, especially when you go full mega base mode. Even with the optimizations in 1.1, late-game performance dips are still around. It's better than before, but don't expect miracles. On lower-end systems or the Steam Deck, things can get a little rough when your factory turns into a steel jungle. Now, one funny bit of debate in the community, some players think the new automation tools make the game too easy. They miss the puzzle solving and janky workarounds that used to be part of the charm. You know, the good old days when making a smooth conveyor line felt like defusing a bomb. But let's be real, most players are just happy to spend less time fighting the build system and more time designing cool stuff. Sure, some creativity gets lost, but efficiency has its own kind of fun. There are also plenty of little additions that make the world feel more polished. You can now dismantle crash sites for parts, train systems are safer with better signal behavior, and a bunch of small annoyances have quietly disappeared. These tweaks don't get flashy trailers, but they make the whole experience smoother. You notice the most when you start a new save and realize how much less frustrating early progression feels. What really stands out in this update though is how refined everything feels. It's not a flashy overhaul like going from early access to 1.0. It's more like the devs sat down and said, okay, let's make everything actually pleasant to use. And for the most part, that's exactly what they did. Whether you're a veteran coming back to polish your Mega Factory or someone who's been waiting for the game to feel truly complete, 1.1 delivers a lot of reasons to give it another shot. That said, there is no pretending everything's perfect. You'll still run into weird physics moments, your factory might occasionally glitch, and performance still dips when you push the game to its limits. But that's kind of part of Satisfactory's identity at this point. It's beautiful chaos with pipes and belts. So is Satisfactory 1.1 worth playing in 2025? Yeah, absolutely, but with a few caveats. If you love factory games or want to return to your old save, you'll get tons of quality improvements that make building and experimenting way smoother. It's the kind of update that respects your time and reduces frustration. On the other hand, if you're waiting for a miracle performance fix or 100% bug-free experience, that's still a work in progress. To put it simply, Satisfactory 1.1 is the most playable, polished, and comfortable version of the game yet, but it's still satisfactory. It's still about making endless loops of machines feed other machines until your brain starts planning conveyor layouts in your sleep. It's still brilliant, addictive, and just the right amount of chaotic. Just maybe keep a backup save, for when the factory gods decide to remind you who's really in charge.